Hear the word of the Lord. Nehemiah Chapter 9. National Confession. Now, on the 24th day of this month, the people of Israel were assembling with fasting and in sackcloth, and with earth upon their heads. And the Israelites separated themselves from all foreigners, and stood and confessed their sins and iniquities of their fathers. And they stood up in their place and read from the book of the law of the Lord their God for a fourth of the day. For another fourth of it they made confession and worshipped the Lord their God. Upon the stairs of the Levites stood Jeshua, Bani, Kadmiel, Shebaniah, Bunni, Sherebiah, Bani, and Chenani. And they cried with a loud voice to the Lord their God. Then the Levites, Jeshua, Kadmiel, Bani, Hashabaniah, Sherebiah, Hodiah, Shebaniah, and Pethiah said, Stand up and bless the Lord your God from everlasting to everlasting. Blessed be thy glorious name, which is exalted above all blessing and praise. And Ezra said, Thou art the Lord, thou alone. Thou hast made heaven, the heaven of heavens, with all their host, the earth and all that is on it, the seas and all that is in them, and thou preservest all of them, and the host of heaven worships thee. Thou art the Lord, the God who didst choose Abraham and bring him forth out of Ur of the Chaldeans and give him the name Abraham. And thou didst find his heart faithful before thee, and didst make with him the covenant to give to his descendants the land of the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, the Perizzites, the Jebusites, and the Girgashites. And thou hast fulfilled thy promise, for thou art righteous. And thou didst see the affliction of our fathers in Egypt, and hear their cry at the Red Sea, and didst perform signs and wonders against Pharaoh and all his servants and all the people of his land. For thou knewest that they acted insolently against our fathers, and thou didst get thee a name as it is to this day. And thou didst divide the sea before them, so that they went through the midst of the sea on dry land. And thou didst cast their pursuers into depths, as a stone into mighty waters. By a pillar of cloud thou didst lead them in the day, and by a pillar of fire in the night to light for them the way in which they should go. Thou didst come down upon Mount Sinai, and speak with them from heaven, and give them right ordinances and true laws, good statutes and commandments. And thou didst make known to them thy holy Sabbath, and command them commandments and statutes and the law by Moses thy servants. Thou didst give them bread from heaven for their hunger, and bring forth water for them from the rock for their thirst. And thou didst tell them to go in to possess the land which thou hadst sworn to give them. But they and our fathers acted presumptuously and stiffened their neck and did not obey thy commandments. They refused to obey and were not mindful of the wonders which thou didst perform among them. But they stiffened their neck and appointed a leader to return to their bondage in Egypt. But thou art a God ready to forgive, gracious and merciful, slow to anger, and abounding in steadfast love, and didst not forsake them. Even when they had made for themselves a molten calf and said, This is your God, who brought you up out of Egypt, and had committed great blasphemies. Thou, in thy great mercies, didst not forsake them in the wilderness. The pillar of cloud which led them in the way did not depart from them by day, nor the pillar of fire by night, which lighted for them the way by which they should go. Thou gavest thy good spirit to instruct them, and didst not withhold thy manna from their mouth, and gavest them water for their thirst. 40 years didst thou sustain them in the wilderness, and they lacked nothing. Their clothes did not wear out, and their feet did not swell. And thou didst give them kingdoms and peoples, and didst allot to them every corner. So they took possession of the land of Sihon, king of Heshbon, and the land of Og, king of Bashan. Thou didst multiply their descendants as the stars of heaven, and thou didst bring them into the land which thou hadst told their fathers to enter and possess. So the descendants went in and possessed the land, and thou didst subdue before them the inhabitants of the land, the Canaanites, and didst give them into their hands, with their kings and the peoples of the land, that they might do with them as they would. And they captured fortified cities and a rich land, and took possession of houses full of all good things, cisterns hewn out, vineyards, olive orchards, and fruit trees in abundance. So they ate and were filled and became fat, and delighted themselves in thy great goodness. Nevertheless, they were disobedient and rebelled against thee, and cast thy law behind their back, and killed thy prophets, who had warned them in order to turn them back to thee, and they committed great blasphemies. Therefore, thou didst give them into the hand of their enemies, who made them suffer, and in the time of their suffering they cried to thee, and thou didst hear them from heaven. And according to their great mercies thou didst give them saviors who saved them from the hand of their enemies. But after they had rest, they did evil again before thee, and thou didst abandon them to the hand of their enemies, so that they had dominion over them. Yet when they turned and cried to thee, thou didst hear from heaven, and many times thou didst deliver them according to thy mercies. And thou didst warn them in order to turn them back to thy law. Yet they acted presumptuously and did not obey thy commandments, but sinned against thy ordinances, by the observance of which a man shall live, and turned a stubborn shoulder, and stiffened their neck, and would not obey. Many years thou didst bear with them, and didst warn them by the Spirit through thy prophets. Yet they would not give ear. Therefore thou didst give them into the hand of the peoples of the land. Nevertheless, in thy great mercies thou didst not make an end of them or forsake them, for thou art a gracious and merciful God. Now therefore, our God, the great and mighty and terrible God, who keepest covenant and steadfast love, let not all the hardship seem little to thee that has come upon us, upon our kings, our princes, our priests, our prophets, our fathers, and all thy people, since the time of the kings of Assyria until this day. Yet thou hast been just in all that has come upon us, for thou hast dealt faithfully, and we have acted wickedly. Our kings, our princes, our priests, and our fathers have not kept thy law or heeded thy commandments and thy warnings which thou didst give them. They did not serve thee in their kingdom and in thy great goodness, which thou gavest them, and in the large and rich land which thou didst set before them, and they did not turn from their wicked works. Behold, we are slaves this day in the land that thou gavest to our fathers to enjoy its fruit and its good gifts. Behold, we are slaves. And its rich yield goes to the kings whom thou hast set over us because of our sins. They have power also over our bodies and over our cattle at their pleasure, and we are in great distress. Those who sign the covenants. Because of all this, we make a firm covenant and write it. And our princes, our Levites, and our priests set their seal to it. This is the word of the God to us. O Lord, open our hearts that we put in the practice that which you have revealed to us.